Hello, everyone. Welcome to Coffee Tea, You and Me. This is Coach Powell. We're celebrating a wonderful opportunity to share amazing information with entrepreneurs, business leaders, sales professionals of all types. We are having a great day in the show today. We're going to have a wrap up to a situation where we began working on the program earlier last month. We just began to work on the process of understanding, how to deliver a wonderful presentation, whether you are delivering that presentation in 60 seconds or a minute, or you have an entire 20-minute or even an hour presentation. What do you need to do to make sure you're delivering everything that you have to deliver to ensure that your audience is engaged, is empowered, and can do the things that you want them to do next? Whatever it is you want them to do, you have to be able to do it. And we run through all of the first 4 segments of the 5 elements of perfect presentation. And just to recap with that for you guys, for those of you who've been paying attention, we're going to give you an opportunity to kind of go back again. The first week we talked about impact. Why it's important to start off a presentation with meaningful information. You never want to start a presentation with stuff that is not going to matter to your listening audience. You want to hit them right up front with benefits. You want to hit them right up front with a question that starts an opportunity in their mind and starts to get them to think. You want to hit them right up front with character development, things that will make them feel like they're connected to a hero that you're going to talk about in the story. And by the way, get it in your mind that the highest impact presentations, no matter where you come from, is a story situation. It's being able to put people in the environment, in a place where they can feel the power of the words that you're sharing and information that you're sharing. It's not about facts. It's not about selling. It's about telling a story and showing and demonstrating the benefits that there are in working with you, or your branding your idea, or whatever that is around those benefits. The second aspect of the 5 elements of perfect presentation have to do with drama. In the story, you must fulfill a range of human emotions. You must help people understand, throughout the pain, the suffering, the anguish, the tears, the tyranny, the oppression, whatever it is that the hero that you're talking about in your story is facing, how they've gone through those emotional barriers and how they've come through on the other side, and how they've been able to pull themselves up, how they've been able to work with others to find opportunities, how they've been able to survive, to struggle, to keep pressing forward, to have more fortitude, to develop more self-confidence and awareness, and then finally to overcome the situation, to slay the dragon, to make sure it's all well. So you have to take your audience through a whole range of emotions, because if you don't do that, then what you're going to find is the problem that you solve is not going to be big enough in terms of the emotional connection to the problem that you solve. You have to help people understand the pain, the suffering, the anguish that happens before you solve the problem, or your hero solves the problem, and then what happens after the hero solves the problem. And so you have to have people have that full range of emotional impact that you want to have. That's the second part. The third part of powerful presentations has to do with heroism. How do you present heroes in a story in a way that's going to make people feel like they could be a hero in a story themselves? How do you connect people and draw them in and help them understand that the heroic acts that you might be describing in your story are not necessarily out of the reach of them or their friends? And you want to make sure they understand that these are just human stories. No matter how outlandish the story might be, you have to land it with a real human connection, so people feel like they know what they're talking about, they know what's going on, they understand and they can actually see themselves in the story. They can see themselves taking the place of the hero in the story. So you want to draw that connection. The last part, and one of the most exciting and important parts of any story that you want to tell, after you get to the impact, the drama, the heroism, and the vision, right, is that opportunity to share with people what you'd like them to do with the story, how that story that you just told can have impact somewhere else. You want to tell them where you want to take the story, and what do you hope this story will be able to do in the universe, in the world that you're creating, and the opportunities that you have, you see in front of you and your listening audience. That's the vision part. When you get the impact right, when you get the drama right, when you get the heroism right, when you get the vision right, the only thing that's left is to ask the question, who was that masked man? Who was the person who told us this amazing story, who connected us so well to this wonderful hero that helped us envision and empower ourselves and feel like we could move and grow and create in a very similar environment? Who was the person that let us know that we can now take and share this story with other people in a way that's going to create more meaning, more significance, more relevance for us and for everybody else around us? Who was this person? That's when you, the storyteller, get to show up. That's when you get to be recognized. And that's today's topic. Today, we're going to talk about recognition and how when you create a program, when you create a story, how do you do it in such a way that people are clamoring to understand more about you? How do you do it in such a way that people can go, oh my God, I want to know more about this person. I want to understand this person. I want to get involved with this person. I want to connect with this person. I want more, and I understand it, and I'm ready to go. How do you get that kind of recognition just from your presentation, from telling amazing stories? Because we always want to know more about the storyteller. We always want to know about that person. So that's when your name counts. That's when the name of your company counts. That's when what you offer counts. So people are leaning in when they're trying to figure it out, when they're trying to understand how to connect. So I'm going to read a few excerpts from the training that's in the chat. So if you're logged on, you should be able to look at the chat. You should be able to see the training out there. I'm going to repost it just in case you didn't get it or you can't find it. If you're watching this on Facebook, you watch this on YouTube, you'll be able to catch it. But I'm going to share it with you anyway. And I want to make sure before I do that, today is a special celebration, right? Because it's Wear Red Day, right? So I'm going to wear my red hat. Now, this is my old hat from the Washington Senators, right? And so I wear this in solidarity with the American Heart Foundation because it's Wear Red Day, but I also wear it in solidarity to all our veterans out there who are recently deployed and they're undergoing action. This is a time where every Friday we wear red for the veterans, but today's special because it's National Wear Red Day for the American Heart Association, and issues of pulmonary and heart trauma is very, very important. So let's make sure we wear red, celebrate that today. If you are having problems logging on, or if you're trying to figure out how do you get more of the content that we have to share, let's make sure that you go ahead and share us on Facebook and LinkedIn, and get involved with us on YouTube. Make sure that you go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button on YouTube, and that'll help us, to create more within our listening audience and do some amazing things. I could not do any of this without the sponsors that have been so gracious in helping and support the programming that we offer for the roundtable. And this program, Coffee, Tea, You and Me, we've been doing this now. We've got well over 100 episodes in throughout COVID. And so we are trying to do this, make sure we have something meaningful to bring to the table for entrepreneurs and business leaders every Friday. And so we've been doing a great job. So I'm very thankful for our sponsors, very thankful for Blacks in Government. I'm thankful for the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce and many, many others who have thrown in with us and just trying to and taking this ride with us to try to do what we can to uplift as many entrepreneurs and business leaders as possible. Today's special show, like I said earlier, we're going to talk about recognition and how do you finish off a wonderful presentation with recognition. And before we read that, we're going to have a quick little branding moment. I want to make sure you get a chance to see this wonderful little video presentation we have for you. Okay, welcome to Coffee, Tea, You and Me. Today we are talking about recognition. But before we get into that, I want to make sure I remind everybody in the listening audience, if you're looking at us for the first time, if you haven't figured it out already, definitely like us on Facebook, subscribe for us on YouTube. If you're on LinkedIn, check it out and go ahead and hit the like button and let us know that you like what we're talking about. Today's celebration information is really, really important. But I want to share something with you that's super special to me. And I don't know if I can get it up, if I can post it. Let's see if I can share it with you guys right now and just change my background. Nope, can't do it. All right, fine. I'm gonna hide it. There's a photograph I wanted to share with you all of some of my favorite people. And this is a photograph of Halim Eldab and Ron Moore, and Dr. Edward Crosby, Tim Moore, and Dr. Edward Crosby. These people were key instrumental individuals that helped me as a young professional learn about the history, Black American history and African American history. And since it's Black History Month, I thought I would share a little tidbit of why they are important. And one of the reasons why they're important, they were the gentlemen who helped to create the first African American History Month celebration. Way back in, I think, 1969 at Kent State University, my alma mater. It was the first Black History Month celebration. And it was 6 months later that Black History Month was enacted into law and then became a national federal holiday. And it's very, very interesting to have come up as an undergraduate through the system at Kent State University through the Department of Pan-African Studies and meet these gentlemen and do all the work that was there to help us understand and really begin to put some groundwork into what it meant to be an African-American professional. And I've learned so much from them, and I gained so much from that experience in my life. I just wanted to share that with you. Every Friday this month, I will be sharing a little special tidbit about Black history. So that was the first tidbit. Now we're going to go into our topic. Here is the topic. Today we're talking about recognition. We already talked about what it takes when you have the 5 elements of perfect presentation. We talked about what it means to have impact in your presentation, drama in your presentation, how to create heroes that actually work, and then how to finally share that with a grand vision of what you want to do with that presentation and where people could share it. The last, and I would think one of the most significant aspects of your presentation has to be recognition. This is where you come in as the storyteller. This is where your vision and your opportunities and who you are matter the most, and it's at the end. When you think about a movie, when you think about anything you ever do, or everything you've ever seen in presentations in Hollywood or anything like that, when do you hear the credits? When do you see the credits? You see them at the end. You find out who the grip was. You find out who the producers were. You find out who all of the musicians that had anything to do with the soundtrack, and who did the lighting, and who did the stunt work, and all that kind of stuff. All the credits are in the end because that's when they're deserved. It's after the show. It's after in the notes, everywhere there is, then people start to begin to say, well, who are the people that put this together? Who were the technicians? Who were the specialists? All that kind of good stuff. And that happens at the end of the show. And that's when you should be recognized. Here's why. Nobody cares who you are before then. If you did a great presentation, now they want to know more about you. Now they want to know how to get in contact with you. Now they want to know what they should do next. Right? And you've gone through the wonderful program, you've delivered a great presentation, and now is where you step up with all the things that matter. We're going to talk about that in a few seconds. But I'm going to read a quick excerpt from the 5 elements of perfect presentation. I suggest you do it yourself as well. If you can download it off of the hard drive or off of the chat, that would be great. But page 8 in the section of recognition says this, and it starts with a quote from Ludwig Wittgenstein. Knowledge is in the end based on acknowledgement. Knowledge is in the end based on acknowledgement. And if you think about that, it's finally you've arrived at this magic time in your presentation. You've arrived at a time when people should be chomping at the bit to know who you are, or maybe some interesting facts that provide some point of credibility about something you've already said. I suggest that you refuse to give them your name, your company, or your tagline until this part of your presentation. Don't bother them up front with stuff that they won't remember anyway. Besides, your title, your name, just give one more opportunity to derail the emotional connection to your story. You want to jump right into that story. You don't want to do anything that's going to derail people's mind or the engagement opportunities from the story. Have you ever heard someone, say their name or title instantly, and your internal voice takes over, it starts to fill your mind with so much noise that you miss the best piece of the presentation? Admittedly, I've had that dialogue myself in my own brain, in my own mind, or I've had sort of internal dialogue that worked a little bit like something like this. Well, Brad's his name? He didn't look like a Brad to me. I wonder, Did he just get teased as a kid for that nerdy name? I'll ask him about it later. Oops, what's his name just say? I know that you've done it too. One of the things that people often do is, they check out. Oftentimes when people are talking, because for some reason, whatever the person is saying may have triggered a thought or a memory or an idea or question in their mind, and then they're thinking about that, but they're not thinking about now what the person is about to say. And so it's very, very important that you realize that it's hard to engage people. It's hard to keep their attention. It's hard to keep them focused on the things that matter the most, especially when you almost without purpose derail them and make them think about something else. So you don't want people to do that. You don't want people to disappear into what we call la land while you're talking. Because if you're talking about something important, you need them to be in there. You need them to be engaged with them. So do me a favor. Stop making us ignore you before we even get started, before we even have a reason to engage with you, a reason to understand you. People who insist on giving us a whole bunch of boring, useless information at the front of their presentation, I call them, they're victims of their own mind. They're criminals in their own mind, right? They're just showing up and throwing up all over the rest of us. Like, we got to pay attention to them. Like, they got the microphone now, and now they're just going to do whatever they want to do. They're not even going to take the time to write down something, practice something, rehearse something that's going to be meaningful, that's going to have an impact, that's going to make us even want to pay attention to them. If anybody knows me, that's golden to me. It's very, very important that I don't give my attention to people who obviously don't deserve it. It hurts my feelings because it's a waste of my time, and I don't have a lot of time to waste. I have to be about the business of doing the things that I am here to do and the mission that I feel like I'm called to in my life and in my business. And anytime I'm not spent doing that, then I'm spending time in one of my other roles as a father, as a husband, as a son, and I'm doing that with a level of excellence. But everything else is just, it's a robbery of my space and time when I could be getting better at doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing. So even more important than, talking about your name and name of your company is the proper placement of your branding statement or a memory hook, something that you can quickly use and say that will help set in people's mind, who you are and what you're all about. And it can be a quick and simple statement that answers questions like this. I do what? For whom? Allowing them to experience what benefit? Now, or you can flip it around. People experience their benefit, this particular benefit from working with me, and this is what I do. But more important than anything else, you want to make sure that people understand the benefit of working with you and who you offer that benefit to, right? That's key to the statement. I do what for whom, allowing them to experience what benefit. Now, we can't even have this conversation, and I promise we're going to explore this in much greater detail in the series that I'm going to be doing next, which is all about benefits. But I got to give you a little hint here. Oftentimes, when we talk about what we do, we're talking about the facts and the features of what we do. That's mistake number one. The second mistake we make when we talk about what we do or who we do it for, we try to make sure we let everybody know everybody we could possibly work for. In the case of a person who has a business to a consumer product, right? They think that because every consumer can buy their product, that they actually do work for everybody, right? And while that is true, you probably do have a product that works for everybody and a product that anybody can purchase because the cost is so low that everybody pretty much can get to that in their marketplace could probably get to that price. You still don't want to show up as a person who says, I will do anything I work for everybody. I work with everybody or anybody. Here's the reason why. When you're talking about networking, here's your opportunity to be laser focused and specific about what you want to do and with whom you want to do it. This is the only form of marketing that gives you that power. So don't waste this opportunity by trying to go broad, because a broad marketing opportunity doesn't work in a networking scenario. Because a networking scenario, you're talking to people People are human beings. They're individuals. They have an individual thought. They have their individual processes. They have their individual minds. And so when you're doing networking, you want to hit a specific person with a specific thought in a specific way that's going to make them make a specific move or help them create a specific thought or image in their mind. You don't want to have anybody, everybody, because anybody, everybody is nobody. Zig Ziglar said this best. You don't want to wander around life being a wandering generality. You want to be a meaningful specific. And so try to, when you're speaking to others, try to be as meaningful and as specific as you possibly can. So when I say, who do I work with? I'm never going to say any and every small business owner, although that is true. I can work with any and own small business owners, but that's not the market I'm always looking for. Not the market I want to try to hit, because it's not really a market. It's too big. It's too broad. But I do take licensed professionals. When you think about your doctors, your engineers, your architects, your lawyers, your CPAs, those are the people I work with best. And so for me, a branding statement would be as specific as this. I help doctors, engineers, and lawyers, or anyone with a license, to do what they do, achieve the highest level of performance, the best focus and creative energy that they've ever achieved in their lifetime in just a 4-month process that's super affordable. People ask me later on, after they hear that statement, they go, well, how do you do that? Because now they're interested. How do you do it? And if they happen to be an engineer or a doctor or lawyer or anybody that has a license, they go, well, can you help me? You know, these things draw people in. So you want to be very careful. First thing, be specific, right, about what you want. Second thing, about who you want to work with and all that kind of stuff. The second thing, allow them to understand the benefits that you offer. If they don't understand the benefits that you offer, like what happens after you've done whatever you do. So after I've done all the beautiful things I do in my coaching programs, people have more energy, they have more focus, and they produce more in ways like they could never imagine before. That's the benefit. And they do it in 4 months. That's the benefit. And you have to be able to hone in on those benefits that you offer very, very, very carefully, because if you don't understand the feelings and the emotions behind what's going to happen when you are done, then you don't understand the benefits that you offer yourself, and you're stuck with facts and features. Like I can easily say, I've got the world's best coaching program, and it lasts for 4 months, and it's very, very affordable. And I meet with people at once a week, and we discuss the programs, and we give them homework assignments, and we blah, blah, blah. I can talk about all the features and the facts of it all. And that might be necessary after you've made the decision that you're interested in those things. But trying to give you that information up front doesn't really help you understand the benefits that we're going to get to in the end. But if I give you the benefits right up front, then you understand. And that's how you do things, right? So very, very important in the recognition part. You want to, if you haven't already done that, be clear about the benefits that you offer, who you speak, who you work with, and why you work with them. So I'm going to give you some examples of how to do this in various different ways as we begin to talk a little bit more about what recognition is and what it is not. But I will ask you in the listening audience out there, as you're going through this information and as you're starting to experience what we're talking about today, if you have a question, if you have a thought, if you have a hand you want to raise, anything you want to do, put that information in the chat. Put the questions in the chat. That way we can respond to them right away, and we can get to them and be there for you. And so if you have a question about anything regarding any type of presentation, go ahead and put that in the chat. If you want to talk about your business, by the way, if you got a business or opportunity or whatever, put that in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you're from, where you're listening in on. I just want to know so I can get a good feel from our listening audience. How did you find out about us? I want all that information in the chat. Don't be shy. Step right up. Like I said, I used to do this program at the coffee shops, local coffee shops. You should do it at a local Panera Bread. And I would sit down there for 2 hours and I would just talk to entrepreneurs and business leaders every Friday. Since COVID, I haven't been able to do it. But one of the requirements that I would always ask people to do when they were coming to the table at Coffee, Tea, You and Me was to share with me a question. And it was a requirement. You could not get up from my table if you didn't ask me a question. So I can't do that online. I can't force you to ask me a question. But I love it if you would engage with me in this way. If you have a question about anything related to the topic we're talking about, or anything at all related to what you think might be helpful to your business, go ahead and ask the question. You never know. Sometimes I have an answer for you that'll work, or sometimes I'll create a whole training program around the question. And so don't feel like this isn't about you. Although it's a broadcast, it is a broadcast. I'm hoping for some engagement. I'm hoping for opportunities to share with people who are aboard. So if you're out there, definitely tell us who you are, where you're coming from, how you found us, anything you're interested in, any of that stuff. I'm interested in all of that. So, post it in the chat, share with the group. And even after this event is over and it's in recording, maybe you're watching it in recording, go ahead and check it out. Post that in the chat as well. So as you know, I'm constantly creating training, and more training. And I want to share with you some of the latest. I created a new training program, and I'm still working out the kinks on it, about the power of recognition. Why is recognition so important? What is it, and why is it so important? And I'm going to start you off with a quote that I'm going to read you from Wendy Walters. And she wrote a book called The Fire of This Time, A New Generation Speaks About Race. And the quote is not about race, but it is about recognition. So I want you to understand, when a story is unpleasant and it's hard to focus on the details that allow you to put yourself in that place of the subject, because the pain of distortion starts to feel familiar. Paying attention often requires some sort of empathy for the subject, or at the very least, for the speaker. But empathy, the empathy these days is hard to come by. Maybe this is because everyone is having such a hard time being understood themselves, or maybe it's because empathy requires us to dig way down into our murk, deeper than our own feelings go, to a place where the boundaries between our experience and everyone else's no longer exists. You have to go to a place where the boundaries of your experiences and everyone else's no longer exist. That helps me understand a few things about recognition and why recognition is so important. If we're going to understand each other, like Walters indicates in her quote, it's going to take a lot. And increasingly, it's becoming more and more difficult for us to get to that point where we recognize each other and where we're giving each other the attention that we need to have. I know in my organization, the Roundtable, we make a big deal out of paying attention to one another. When we are delivering our presentations, our 60-second elevator speeches, or we're talking to one another, or doing our rap report, or we are engaging in discussion and dialogue, it is very important that we are fully engaged and fully listening to one another. Which is why we always have cameras on. We're always doing things where we can see each other, because it doesn't do for us to be kind of dialing it in and not fully in the room, not fully present to the moments that others experience. And it hurts when people are feeling ignored or misunderstood or flat out just abandoned. And you don't want to do that, especially in a networking space. So we work hard to make sure that people feel like they've gotten some great communication, like they've gotten encouraged, and that they feel that there's opportunities to create collaborative partnerships with the people that are in the room. There are all kinds of techniques and tools that are about that. But it starts with paying attention, because you can't recognize someone until you first pay attention. So let's think about that. In order to find one another and touch one another adequately, we've got to be willing to do whatever is necessary to create the connection and find space within the universe to share, one in which we can be elevated and transformed into a much better form of existence. If we are to begin to save humanity, even if only for humanity's sake, we must strive for these answers. We must see and be seen. We must communicate and be accepted for the longings of our hearts and our desired contributions into the forward flow of human history. we need to understand the true power of recognition. Wittgenstein says, knowledge is in the end the base of acknowledgement. Knowledge is in the end based on acknowledgement. Very important thought. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, what do I need to know or understand about someone else? What do I need that's going to help? What do I need to know about them that'll help me come out of my comfort zone and help them with the resources that are under my control? What is it that I need to do to see them for who they are and what they bring to the table? How should I deliver information to them that lets them know that it's safe to build a bond of trust with me? If you're like most people, you really don't even consider these things until you want something and that maybe you can't get from somebody. Maybe you want something special from them. Maybe you want to do something else. Now let's flip the question for a second. How do you become the person that is recognized and acknowledged for your expertise and wisdom? How can you make your audience develop the kind of understanding and acceptance so that when they seek you out and call on your talent or the talent of your team, they do it in the most appropriate way in the most fashionable situations? How can they know when and how to help you shine your light on others? These are amazing questions, right? These questions marketing professionals are asking all over the world. And these answers to these questions, they start to have you have a full understanding of a special problem that only you are uniquely equipped to answer. You need to be so good at understanding and articulating the problems that you and your product or service can fix that you seem to be one of the only people that are uniquely positioned to solve that particular problem brilliantly. When someone runs into people that fit into the description of your target audience, they need to know exactly what to do to get you in front of you, them in front of you. You need to equip them to jump into automatic pilot so they know exactly what to say when they find somebody who's in your demographic or who meets the descriptions that you may have described in your story of heroes and characters that you may have come up with. The opportunity for you and others to grow and help one another is just like Wittgenstein suggests. It is in the acknowledgement, the acceptance, and the appreciation of obvious talent. You must do everything that you can to get your audience to respond to you emotionally and physically. You want them to want to share your stories and feel good about your representation and the ideas that you have to share. You want them to find comfort in the quiet belief that you are somebody they can feel safe and follow and work with. All these things you want, right? You want people to know that they can be with you and you will be with them. You want them to let their guard down. You want them to be your friend and your associate. But this can only happen when you show up authentically as you, in the full light of your talent and your abilities. No secrets, no hidden agendas, just you, your capabilities, and your flat out desire to contribute. Now, the 5 elements of perfect presentation are a great tool, a great strategy for you to come up with ways that you can create that kind of recognition. But if you don't know how to say it, if you don't know what to say, if you don't know when to say it, it'll all fall out flat. Now, the beautiful thing about human beings is that we've studied this whole recognition piece since forever. If you read the training that I'm going to come up with, that I'm finishing off, and if you ask for it, I'll definitely send it to you. It's called Promises, 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 the study and recognition. What's important about all of it is that we've been talking about this for a long time. There's stories in the Bible that we're talking about it for a long time. And I'm going to give you a couple of quick ideas that you can get out of the Bible if you read it about recognition. It's important in the recognition process is to show up as a match to a need. if you got a target audience that has a problem, right, you need to be able to show up as a match to the need that you already know. You've already had to done your marketing studies, your programming. You've had to think about what is the problem that your people have, and what is the need for it. Like, one of the problems that I've discovered amongst licensed professionals who are busy doing their thing and they're successful in their own right, one of the problems that they often have is they go through burnout. They go through burnout because they're overwhelmed and they have to deal with so much. They have so many hats that they're trying to wear. Usually, as organizations flatten, the responsibilities become more on the owners and the leaders of those organizations to do more, and with less. And so the stress of it all is something that is phenomenally burdensome and it's very difficult. But one of the things I've learned is that if you can articulate this problem and you could wrap the problem up in a story people can easily understand, people will respond to it in ways that they wouldn't respond to just the facts and the features that you offer. So make sure that you do that. Make sure that in your recognition of other people, when you start to think about how do I show up for people who need to be acknowledged and recognized, right? Do so personally. Do so quietly first. Because I don't know about you, if anybody's ever kind of like pulled you to the side or over in public said how wonderful you are, how great you are, and it's kind of embarrassing. You might want to avoid that awkwardness, because maybe there's somebody in the room they don't really want to hear whatever it is you're about to say about them. So you want to be very careful, and you want to make sure that you acknowledge them and tell them, what it is that you admire about them, what it is that you hold in high regard and high self. But you want to do that privately and personally, at least at first. And what I like to do sometimes, if I find somebody has done something or said something that I think is marvelous or great, I will quietly, I've even done this through social media, I'll send them a message that said, that point that you made about this, that, and the other really, really, really resonated with me, because it reminded me of a time when this happened to me and that happened to me, and I was able to respond in this way. And it didn't work out as well for me, but I see that I didn't hang in there long enough, and I probably should have done some other things and all that kind of stuff. So I really appreciate you bringing that up, because I'll know how to deal with it in the future. I just thanks so much. And then I'll send it to them. And if they respond back well, they're like, really, Marvin, I really appreciate you taking the time to give me a really good feedback on what you experienced on my blog or my speech or presentation or whatever that was. If they give me some good feedback about their feedback that I gave them, and they got some good vibes back or appreciative of that, I'll ask them, listen, who is it that you think that I really should share this with? Because oftentimes in their presentation, they're not doing exactly what I told you to do. They're not recognizing themselves, and they're not really giving me the vision of who I should be sharing this story or presentation with, or this idea or this concept with, because they're usually trying to aim it at me. I'm trying to sell you. It's like, and if you can't sell me on whatever it is that you're saying, you probably should probably tell me who you can sell it to, and because you never know who I might know. So if you haven't been specific about who you work with, you haven't described in your story a character or somebody that I can think of, then what you're missing is an opportunity for me to actually show up and actually be recognized by the people that you want to be recognized by. So it's very, very important that you have that quiet moment. And if a person says, oh, really, if you could just share it with your doctor, or if you could just share it with your CPA, if you could just share it with, somebody that, that it meets that target demographic, that would be really great. I would really love that. And I'll say, I'll do you one better. I'll share it with them. I'll let you know I share it with them. And I'll CC you in the communication so you can see it was done. Would that be okay with you? Now, I want you to feel me on this. I just made a commitment to do something with somebody I'm already impressed with. We're now entering into a working relationship where I'm promoting them. And I'm promoting them for free. But I can easily, after I did that, follow up with them and say, I promoted your ideas and your concept to about 20 people that I know. I know I shared them with you. Were you able to follow up with them? How did that go? Now we're communicating. Is there anything I need to do better the next time out? And now they know I'm on their side. I'm not just a promoter of their ideas. I'm now a supporter of their ideas. And I have the right now to ask them for a favor. Maybe I want to ask them to come on my show. Maybe I want to ask them to help me collaborate with a strategy that's going to help win some opportunities within the small business marketplace for both of us. Maybe I want to, borrow some of the ideas or thoughts that they have coming up with, and I want to, enter a joint venture partnership on some type of arrangement. All these things are possible when you begin to understand what the power of recognition is all about. The next piece of recognition that's important is it helps you get in the right game, not just in the game, but in the right game, right? This is in the Bible. In Colossians, it says, whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men. The right game is something that's much higher than just your immediate need to create a transaction. The right game is the game that's going to empower the world and move humanity forward. It's going to speak to the soul and the people that you're working with. That's the right game. But you got to be able to, you have to know that that's the game you're in, that's the game you want to play in order to actually get in the game and play it at a high level. If you're doing the recognition piece right, you're being recognized for the talent and the gifts that you bring to the table, and you're recognizing others for the talents and gifts that they bring to the table, guess what? You can expect to be at the big seat because your expertise is going to lead you right to the greatest opportunities of your life. But you have to be willing to build those relationships where what you say and who you are actually matters. And people understand what you bring to the table. When you hold back who you are and what you bring to the table for fear that, for whatever reason, maybe you're fearing somebody's going to steal it from you, somebody's going to take it from you, somebody's going to take you for granted. Yeah, all that's going to happen. But also what's going to happen is the right people are going to hear you. The right people are going to respond to you. The right people are going to bring opportunities to you and bring advantages to you and bestow upon you the support, the time, the talent, and the treasure that you need to elevate you. So you got to take the good with the bad, but you got to continue to show up. Because if you don't expect the big seat at the table and you don't expect to be at the table, it's impossible for you when you get to the table to perform like you need to perform when you're there. Because you'll have that inherent hesitancy, that inherent fear that keeps you out of there. The other thing that recognition helps you do is it helps you stay close to the people that you need to stay close to. The illustration I just gave you earlier about how I handle maybe social media post or a speech or a presentation, I'm talking to somebody I'm already impressed with, right? I'm trying to make sure that they recognize and see me. So my acts of support, my acts of empowerment for them are all ways that they can see me at my best doing the things that I love to do, which is support and empower people. Right? But I can't do the thing I want to do all the time just and wait to get paid to do it all the time. Sometimes I got to give people enough of an information about it to let them know that, man, I want more of this guy in my life. And now that's when I'm going to be thinking about, okay, this is going to take up a modicum of my time and my effort and my energy. It's worth something, what's it worth? And that's when I have to get paid. If this person has the ability, then they should be able to share that remittance with me without a problem. But if they don't have the ability and, for whatever reason, then I should be able to work with them to a certain level, to a certain degree to help them a little bit, at least a little bit, again, without a problem. Because what I have is gifts and talents that I've stored up and they're at the ready. And I need to share them with discrimination with people who, one, need them, but people who also can't afford them. And it might be two separate marketplaces for the same thing, but understand that, you have to be willing to sow good seeds in the ground. So people who need you desperately, if you have something that you can share with them and you have it in abundance and you don't share it with them, then to me, you're creating a mortal sin. I mean, you're not really elevating what you bring to the table and you're not really giving people the blessings that they deserve. I see my boy Tabby's out there. Hey, Tabby, how are you? Good to see you. Thanks for coming on board today. Why don't you put your information in the chat so people can get to you? If there's something that you want somebody to know, go ahead and share that in the chat box. That way people can understand who you are, what you're bringing to the table, and how they can get in contact with you if possible. If they want to do something with you, go ahead and do that. Put it in the chat. That way you can get as much exposure as you possibly can to the listening audience, either now or in the future. And whoever else is out there, again, put your information out there. Thanks for signing on. We're talking about recognition and how important it is to understand the power of recognition. Whether you're presenting to someone, or you're sharing with somebody, you're talking to somebody, you're engaging with people. You want to recognize them. You want to be recognized. And it's very important because recognition does a lot of things for you. One of the things it does for you, obviously, helps you keep your feet on the ground, helps you stay grounded, right? Because when you're in your element and you're doing the thing you're supposed to be doing, they're doing the things you're supposed to be doing, and you can support each other in doing the things that you're supposed to be doing, the things that you're here to do, the things that you were put to do, and it helps everybody stay in the game. It helps everybody stay in the game and play the game at the high level, whatever the game is. And it helps you also develop a level of multiplication. It helps you to really, really experience what it takes to help others grow as you grow. And you become stronger as they become stronger, and vice versa. You become stronger. You'll be able to find teammates, people that you might want to recruit, people that you might want to play with. But you can't do it if not in the game. Next thing, recognition helps you play and play at a high level. When you can recognize people for the gifts and talents they have, you now know how to engage with them better. But if you can't see who they really are, what they truly bring to the table, what their character and competence is, what are you trusting in them, right? Recognition helps you pursue perfection. It helps you to really, really understand how to get the best out of someone else, and it really helps them understand how to get the best out of you. But if neither one of you are paying attention, if you're not giving each other recognition that you deserve, acknowledging the talents and the gifts and the presence that you have, then it's going to be impossible, very difficult to, again, play the game at the high level, make sure you understand what you're doing. And there's just so much other stuff that recognition helps you bring to the table. It helps you pay attention to the right things and be first at it. It helps you to open what I call the third eye, right? You might be just about your business, doing whatever you're doing, but you hear somebody give this powerful presentation. And all of a sudden, the imagery that they paint for you and the heroes that they share with you make you think about things in different ways than you've ever thought about it before. That's what we call that third eye. That's when you appear to have a wisdom that you might not have had before. But you have to be willing to go there. You have to be willing, open and accepting of new information, new people, new ideas. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see everything in a different way. Even the things you've seen before, you're going to look at them differently. You're going to see them differently. You're going to see them in a deeper, more meaningful way. You're going to recognize stuff that's inside of the environments, the people, and the places you've already been that you may not have recognized before, all through the stories that someone else may tell and recognizing the points and the value that they're making in a way that they're making it. Recognition feeds you. It feeds your soul. When you are acknowledged for who you are, the gifts you bring to the table, that's adequate and it's appropriate acknowledgement of those things, man, it feels amazing. It feels amazing. And so try to make sure you give that gift to other people so that they're ready when it comes to when the opportunities come. They have the confidence of knowing that they're in the right space with the right place at the right people, and it's the right time. And whatever they've been holding back on that you see in them, they can now expose, and they can now because you've exposed it, right? They can now see it for themselves and recognize that other people can see it too. And it's almost like you got to do something with it. Once you recognize you have that talent or gift, whatever it is, you got to do something with it. And if you've been on the fence or you've just been tentative about it, maybe you can be more confident in it and just put the shoulder to the plow and get to work and make it happen. It's just so many things that recognition offers you, opportunity to change the script of your life, of your business, of the trajectory of whatever you're doing. It helps you, choose and find the right teammates. It helps you move your friendships along. And when it comes to friendships and associates, it's frequency that matters here. It's not exactly as much as the quality or quantity of your connection, but it's the frequency of the connection that deepens the quality and the quantity of your connection. You understand what I'm saying? And so make sure when you spend time with each other, spend time together, paying attention to one another, not spending time with each other. I have arguments about this with my wife all the time. Going to the movies is not spending time together. Sitting in the dark theater watching the same screen at the same time is not necessarily all we could do to engage with each other personally. It's not necessarily the best way to do that either, as a matter of fact. And so you want to be face to face. You want to be across the table from one another. You want to be having meaningful dialogue and conversation back and forth, right? That is spending quality time with the person, where you're being listened to and you're also listening. You're being heard and you're also being understood. You can feel each other. You know, networking and creating marketing strategies around relationships is very, very important to the human experience. One of the reasons why it's important is because it helps you get down to the essential truth of who you are. You know, when you're working with somebody, oftentimes we want them to see the person that we want them to see, but not the real us. But over time and in frequency, the real us is going to show up. And the real us is going to be the person that they're either going to fall in love with and have a tremendous amount of respect for, or not. But the truth of that matter is it helps us build relationships the right way with the right people by being our authentic self as much as we possibly can, right up front, right away. Very important. The last and most important possibility when it comes to recognition and why recognition is so important is recognition actually does bring darkness out of the deep and into the light. When you recognize something special in somebody, something that may have been buried deep, something that they didn't even know they recognize in themselves, you get a chance to call on it. You get a chance to say, I see this in you. I see this greatness in you. I see this talent in you. And it might stay dormant for quite a while. But depending on who you are and the credibility that you bring to the table, you being able to recognize something in them, something special in them, can make all the difference in their lives, can change their life, and it can bring something to the table for them that they have never thought of. I often tell the story the first time I had a chance to see and hear Les Brown speak. And I was sitting at a table in a crowded auditorium with a ton of my fraternity brothers on our 75th anniversary. And I'll never forget it. I was in the front, on one of the front tables off to the side, off the left side, and I was sat enwrapped with everything that Les had to say. And I'll never forget, that's the first time I ever met and saw Mamie Brown's baby boy. You know, that's how he introduced himself. It was Mamie Brown's baby boy. Mrs. Brown's baby boy was amazing, phenomenal, and was probably the greatest speaker to that date I had ever seen in my life. I was 22 years old and I was blown away. And I couldn't help myself. I had to tell him. I waited in the line, you know, after the speaker talks to shake the speaker's hand and, you know, get the book signed and do whatever you needed to get done, right? Just wanted to say hi or whatever that was. And I waited for my time to talk to Les, and I had to wait for all the dignitaries to show up first and stuff like that. But I waited in that line. I waited in that line until my time came, and I practiced what I was going to say to Les. And I got there and I flubbed it. You know, I said, "Oh my God, Mr. Brown, this was an amazing presentation. I really enjoyed it. It was so much fun. You know, I just hope I can be like you a little bit when I grow up." And he looked at me in my face and looked past all my little stumbling, awkward young ways and said to me, "Young man, you're going to be a speaker someday." At the time, I was an architecture major at Kent State University, and there was no way I was ever going to even think about becoming a presenter, a public speaker, or anything like that, because architecture was what I was going to, that's what I went to school to be. I went to school to be somebody who sat behind the desk with their little drawings all day long and model building and, you know, imagining these great buildings. And maybe someday, maybe somebody will let me loose on a client and I'll actually be able to do something like this, you know. But I was resigned to spending my life hunched over a drafting table. And I had no thought that I would do anything else until Les put a little something in the back of my brain. I said, you know, you're going to be a public speaker someday. It's like I was already a leader on campus and stuff. So I was like, well, maybe, and I got to do lots of presentations, and well, maybe Les was right. And I was like, no, I denied it. I denied it for 20 years. And it wasn't until recently, when I came out of that denial, that I realized that this is a gift of mine as well. And it's something that I have to do. I have to present ideas and concepts for people to understand, because there's a wisdom that people like me get from the readings that I do and the writing that I do and the expression and the thought process that I go through, the conversations I get myself into. And I like to capture it, I like to write it down. So I write it down, and it's all my good stuff sitting on my hard drive until I share it with somebody else. And I realize I can't bless the world until I share it with somebody else. So guess what? You're part of my experience now. You're part of how I get recognized for who I am and what I do. And this is what it's all about for all of us, finding those moments where we can stand in that spotlight, stand in the sunlight, and be recognized for who we are, for what we bring to the table, and also learn how to recognize and acknowledge others for doing the same thing. When you do it well, something magical happens. People feel engaged. They feel connected. They feel like they belong. They feel like there's something special about them. They feel meaningful. They feel significant. They feel relevant. If you can do this for people, the more you can do it for these people, the more it's going to come back to you. In fact, it's going to come back to you in sort of a cyclical way. We're going to get back into that a little bit later in the second series we're going to be doing. We're going to end up this series on the 5 elements of perfect presentation. And again, if you need a copy of the 5 elements and you want to download it for yourself, I see you out there, Rajika. Definitely take a look at it. Take a look at the presentation, download it, put it on your hard drive, read it, experience it. If you have some questions about it, feel free to come back to Coffee, Tea, You and Me anytime and put a question in the chat. I'll be more than happy to respond to the question. I'll be more than happy to help you analyze the situation and go through whatever you have to go through in order to do it, because you deserve to give and share amazing presentations. You deserve to show up. Take your time in the spotlight. Take your time in the sun and be there all the way in whenever you're presenting, whenever anybody else is presenting. Go for it. You can do it. Okay, I've had a great time today. This is a great presentation. We're about close to the hour. I'm going to wrap things up and make sure that you understand where we're coming from. We're talking about recognition today. This is one of many programs that we offer at Coach Power Training Development. I specialize in helping entrepreneurs and business leaders, executives, really ramp it up and push the needle forward than they can ever imagine that they could do. It's a special gift, a special talent. I've created thousands of hours of training, all kinds of solutions already at the ready. When you're ready, you let me know. My information is going to be scrolling across the screen in just a couple seconds because I forgot to have it up there until just now. Like, how do you reach me? Oh, I don't know. Where did it go? My goodness. Sometimes I got my act together, and then sometimes I really don't. They hid my thing that I usually use. There it is. Bongo. There it is. Ba-da! Okay, so that's how you find me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Text me at 703-201-4267 or hashtag, at any of the social media platforms, the hashtag 9-Step Guru. That's me. And I will definitely pay attention. I'll definitely answer your questions. In fact, I'm running a special for Black History Month. It is half off all of my coaching services. And so if you're interested in finding out more how you can get to that, you're going to reach out to me, 703-201-4267 or hashtag 9-Step Guru. I actually do corporate training. I do individual coaching, and I work with associations and groups. So I'm looking forward to working with all of you or anybody who wants to make that happen. And let's have a good time. Let's enjoy ourselves. You all have a great time. I see you out there, Reverend Andre McGuire, my brother, my good brother. I enjoy you too, my friend. And definitely, I'm going to put that information in the chat, by the way, in LinkedIn, because I know that LinkedIn doesn't have the active live chat, so I have to actually physically go over to LinkedIn and put the information in the chat. But I will definitely do that for my good brother. I see you out there. Thank you for showing up, and let us know where you're coming from, what city you're coming from, what town you're coming from. How'd you find out about this? If you found out about it on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or any place else you found out about it, I really would like to know, because it helps me kind of figure out where I'm going to plant next seeds. Next week, you got to come back, though. Next week, we begin our series on benefits. And I'm telling you right now, I've been practicing working on this one for a long time. This is going to be a great series. We're going to do this probably going to go well into February all the way through March. We're just going to talk about how do you position your ideas so people can benefit the best. How do they understand the benefits? How do you articulate the benefits? Why should you articulate the benefits? And what that really means in all of its entirety. I hope you be richly blessed. I had a great time talking to you all, and we're going to do it again next Friday. Thank you. Goodbye and good night.